And I'm going to go ahead and click record too. So, all right, everybody, welcome to the 8-week marketing job mastery. How to land a marketing job in 8 weeks. I hope you're safe wherever you are. It is freezing chilly out here in terms of California weather and very rainy these last couple of days. So I'm spending a lot of time indoors here. And I'm also thinking about 2022 and all the wonderful things that are going on from that perspective. And so many of you here are also here for those reasons too, because a lot of us wait until January 1st to start our stuff. But today, we're going to give you an opportunity to think about January 1st on December 14th, so you can get a 2-week head start into your next year. And we want to talk about a topic that's near and dear to everything that I do, and that's job hunting. And specifically in this situation, marketing. All right, so we're going to talk today about some of the introductions and goals of this presentation, the 8-week model that Albert's List uses, why marketing is a career, the lay of the land, getting interviews, landing the job, and ultimately I want to leave you here with an opportunity today to really change your 2022, and that's the bootcamp program. And then we'll open up to Q&A in our chat section, and you can ask questions throughout, and Andrea will be in the background here answering those questions as we go, and if any stand out, we'll highlight them in the main presentation as well. And so who are we? You may have discovered us through the Facebook community that I'm in, that I've been running. You might have discovered us via Eventbrite. You might have discovered us via Meetup. Wherever you might have met us, we are Albert's List. Albert's List is a social media, Facebook community and company founded in 2013 off of my own job search struggles from the Great Recession. And we're a community with 46,000 job seekers, hiring managers, recruiters, career coaches, and more. And you can join us today over at that handy dandy link or Albert's Job Listings and Referrals, San Francisco Bay Area. And we host everything from weekly virtual events, including mock interviews, hiring fairs, and workshops, to boot camps just like this that we'll be talking to you about today. And so hopefully with an opportunity to understand of what we exactly do to go through this entire bootcamp process and what we do, you'll have an understanding of how you can move through into the new year. And so there's 2 of us, partners in crime, that are doing this. And my name is Albert, founder of the aptly named Albert's List, and Andrea Mazir, who is the Millennial Career Coach. I'm in the Bay Area, she's in New York. We span the entire United States and more. And we have between us a combined 25 years of marketing experience. She works in the business and consumer space, so everything from your Johnson & Johnson's to women's health products and more, and everything that you would go to a CVS or whichever and see. I, on the other hand, work in B2B marketing. I'm currently at Oracle, which is a software company here in the Bay Area, founded in the Bay Area, now headquartered in Texas. And I've previously been at companies like Cisco, HP Enterprise, Proficient, and more. And my area of expertise is content marketing, product marketing, and a little bit of social media and community marketing. And Andrea is focused in the digital marketing space. So everything you've heard from Facebook ads to those kind of things are of interest to you, that's definitely the place to be, is here. And then she's also, in addition to that, the Millennial Career Coach. So she helps with resumes and LinkedIn and all the things in between. Andrea, did I miss anything?
No, I guess like also from industry perspective, I've also spanned that throughout my 10-year career. I've worked with a couple of startups on the ad tech and media side. So that's where I got a chance to work on some pretty big budget campaigns. And I've worked with agencies as well. So for 1.5 years, if you saw Sprint banner on your phone, for instance, I was the one that put that there. Personally, like the ad industry wasn't really for me. So I pivoted into healthcare, which is what I was doing for the last 5 years, which has been, suffice to say, long story short, very interesting during the pandemic. And now I've actually made another switch and I've changed into the insurance industry. So it's still B2C, but there is going to be a B2B component as well. So pretty much anything and everything that involved the digital marketing with some traditional marketing and just all things Marcom, I've had my hands in. So that's something that I can absolutely assist with, and I mentor people throughout even throughout the day. And I do apologize. I've been, as I mentioned before earlier, I've been talking a lot and my throat is super dry despite hydrating. But I'm pretty much like I'm available in terms of coaching and mentoring for anything marketing or wherever you're at in your search.
Cool. Natasha, I saw you raise your hand. If you have a question, just feel free to type it in and we can go ahead and answer it. Everybody is on mute. This is in webinar mode, just FYI. So if you do want to come off and say something, just go ahead and ask your question. And if we have any follow-ups, we'll bring you on audio. Yeah, so let us know if you have any questions about that too. Cool. All right, so who is this presentation for? So a lot of you are here today. It is a Tuesday night in the middle of December, and you're in a presentation learning about how to find your next marketing job in 8 weeks. This presentation is for a few people. It's for college students or new grads looking to break into marketing. You might be in your final semester of college, or you might even be before your final semester of college. I know I certainly didn't prepare for my marketing career. I was thinking that, you know what, I could I have a college degree and I'm going to be okay. And, you know, in the Morgan Freeman voice, Albert was not okay. You might be a junior or mid-level marketer looking to level up, right? And so you might have your first job and you're trying to figure out how to get to that next step of your life. Or you might be somebody with 5 to 7 years of experience and looking to make it to that next level. Or you might be somebody in another field, right? You might be in customer success. You might be in sales. You might be an accounting finance person, and you're looking for a little bit more excitement or a change in your life. And, you know, now's the perfect time to do it, right? We're in 2021 at the very end. It's been a crazy year for everybody. And we're now heading into 2022, ready to take that next step and, you know, looking to learn more about the future of marketing and how that all works. And you want to maybe add those skills to your career, or you want to make that complete career pivot because you want to do something different. And so if any of those things describe you, you are absolutely in the right place tonight. And so why marketing in the first place? It's an exciting place to be these days. Marketing has transformed significantly over the last 10 years. It's gone from this very siloed organizational space into something that is a lot more integrated with the rest of the business. It's very closely aligned with how companies make money. And there are more ways than ever to really be able to capture all of that data. And all of us are being marketed to every single day. If you saw a Facebook ad today, if you saw somebody send you an email to promote, you know, maybe Christmas goods, if you watched a YouTube video, you definitely were marketed today. And we are marketed to thousands of times per day. And there is usually somebody sitting in a nice office chair behind that ad who's definitely sent you that advertising. And in this case, you know, I also ran some marketing, some Facebook ads myself. So it's likely that you came in here through a Facebook ad as well, finding whatever may be interesting. And so some fast facts about this industry. It is the only function in the organization that is responsible for growth. With a lot of noise out there today, salespeople are out there definitely doing their work, but marketing is what helps with the awareness process. And so, like I was mentioning about ads, that's how people become aware and so forth. And there were 317,000 marketing jobs added in the past year. And so how do you grab some of that pie, especially since the average salary for a marketing manager these days, it's $141,490. And you know, I'll just put it out there for myself, right? I work in tech. Technology is very lucrative, and I currently make $146,000 a year myself. And prior to this, you know, at the very beginning of my career, I made about $100,000 less. There aren't that many jobs where in 10 years you could go up by about 100,000. But marketing is one of those jobs because it is such a critical function. And so you get to be a part of it. And so it's also a very hierarchical organization too. In the marketing world, you have the ability to move in from entry level all the way up to, if you want, and be a part of that pressure, to be the chief marketing officer, right? And so You have entry-level marketers who do assistant type work. They're very junior. Then the individual contributors who have ownership over something. Then from there, you have managers, directors, vice president, and chief marketing officers. And of course, your mileage will vary because some of these organizations are a lot flatter. Maybe you start as an individual contributor and the person that you're reaching out to and going up to is the vice president of marketing, and you go from there. And so, yeah, it's one of those types of jobs where you can start from the bottom, make it to the top, and be successful in the process. And so when I look at job hunting, one of the things that I've just noticed over the last 8 years of running Albert's List, and whether it's marketing or any other career, but let's just focus on marketing here. I've been asking myself a few questions when it comes to understanding how the entire process of really just making the job hunt work. And I've been asking questions like, why do job seekers find jobs faster than others? How come some job seekers struggle? And how do I make sure and come to the idea that everybody has a chance? I know I myself, early on in my career, struggled mightily with a job search. I saw everybody getting jobs that made way more money than I did. I was making like 45 grand. People were making 60, 70 grand. I think one of my roommates in college got his first job out of school in 2010, and they were making 80 grand. And others really had an easy time finding their next job. And why was that the case? I'll tell you, one of the cases was because I stunk at interviewing, which is a topic that we'll talk a little bit about today. I thought that the entire job search was about me and only me, and not about those that I'd be working for. In other cases, it was not really actually knowing much about the domain and really wondering what the heck marketing was at that point. And it was going through a little bit of its own identity crisis. If many of you have been around for the last 10, 15 years, right, we've had social media come up, video marketing come up. All of these things are new, and companies are trying to figure out continuously how to leverage this to make it work for them and how to make it make sense. And so, knowing what held job seekers back, I went ahead and went to work, and I came up with something called the hiring hierarchy. If you've ever been to any of my presentations, you've no doubt seen this graphic. If not, and you're seeing it for the first time, I'm going to go ahead and explain it to you. A lot of you have probably heard of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. For those of you who haven't, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a graphic that shares the absolute needs that individuals need to have at the very bottom, going up to the top, to what they need to be able to survive. So at the very bottom, you have shelter, you have food, you have love, and then at the very top, you have self-actualization, psychological safety, all of that fun stuff. And when it comes to hiring, I thought about it in a very similar way. At the very bottom, you need to have resilience. You need to know who you are. You have to have the character to show up to a job interview, and you have to commit, right? It's always surprising to me, but there are people who can't seem to commit to a job search, much less show up to a job on the first day, especially during the Great Resignation. And as you get up towards this ladder, you have things like fundamentals, which is your resume, knowing how to answer interview questions, having a LinkedIn profile, depending on the industry, having a portfolio. And then as you move up, it's being able to have that vision for your job search, knowing how to measure your success, and then ultimately leadership and being able to have credibility. And so much like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs and being able to survive, the hiring hierarchy is similar in the sense that you don't have to have all of these things in order to be the best professional possible. You need to have a basic understanding of it, and you need to be able to work through it and be able to communicate and articulate most of these things, but not all of them, at a entry to mid-level to be able to be the ideal candidate that any company wants. And so when it comes to being able to find your next job in 8 weeks, we use this entire process to walk you through, coach you, and provide you the accountability so that you know how to find that next job and make everything and all the actions that you need to be successful. And so we're going to walk you through that, and then we're going to show you what exactly this bootcamp is, why we started it, and how you could possibly benefit from it as you go through the next 8 weeks, starting in January. And so the first week of being able to find your job in 8 weeks is being able to understand yourself. Understanding yourself is the bottom rung of the hiring hierarchy, and it's resilience, identity, character, and commitment. Resilience means that you're going to hear a lot of no's along the way, and that you have to be committed to the skills that you have. You have to make job hunting a habit. You have to be somebody who understands what it is that you need to do in order to make this happen, and that you can't just sit there and say, I want a job to just have a job, but that I'm committed to showing up every single day, sending out the emails, making in the LinkedIn posts, and so much more. A second piece is identity, and that's knowing where you are in your career path. Questions like whether you know what you want or knowing how a particular role fits into your career path are especially key for this part of the journey. One of the things that I often tell job seekers a lot of is that you can't just find a job for the sake of finding a job, because not every company, and most companies, in fact, aren't just creating jobs because they want to put a butt in a seat. Jobs exist because they want to have that strategic vision to help take their company to the next level. And in marketing, it's all about growth. So whether you're helping a company grow via its blog, or you're shooting video, or you're a product marketer helping to launch a new product into the space, that role exists because there are higher ups in leadership who see that there's a need for that role in order to make sense of everything. The next piece is character. And so character is about getting out of your comfort zone, focusing on your locus of control, and being around the right people. People want to hire a lot for character. They want to hire for what you hear a lot of time as personality. And they want to understand that you're somebody who can get out of your comfort zone, somebody who is a good person overall, and can show up when asked to show up. And then there's commitment and how you become committed along the way. Commitment is table stakes, I would say, for a lot of jobs. It's being able to make time, finding that accountability, and being able to be in that mindset. I know that the reason why I also started Albert's List too is because early on in my career, I was not a very committed professional. I've been laid off and fired at least 4 or 5 times in the first 11 years of my career. And, I mentioned that not because it's, a number to show off. In fact, it's quite embarrassing. But each step along the way, it helped me become a better job hunter. I found myself accountability partners along the way to hold me accountable to finding that next role. And I worked through various different mindsets in order to be successful in doing this, right? So I'd wake up on the morning of being unemployed and I'd tell myself, what I'm searching for is searching for me too. And every time I've been on that job search, I really realized one thing, that mindset was literally everything. If my mind changed and I went a different direction, I'd literally fall off a cliff and move into this area that I think I would never be able to come back from. In fact, there have been many times in job searches where I could see myself looking down into the abyss of no return, where if I decided to take my mindset somewhere, then I might not be able to find a job for another 3 to 6 months. And that is probably scarier than anything else. And so being able to have that mindset, being able to have that community around you makes a gigantic difference when it comes to your job search. And that's why commitment is at the very, very bottom of the step. And then we're going to move into the second part of things, which is being able to master fundamentals. What are fundamentals? Fundamentals are your skills. It's being able to know what's at stake. And it's being able to have all the things in your job search that are going to help you accelerate that search, whether it's a LinkedIn profile, like I mentioned, your portfolio, a resume, social media profiles to build your brand, your own website, and so much more. And having all these fundamentals, in my opinion, because I know that for the first row, the row of knowing yourself is pretty much for, I would say, 60 to 70% of jobs. The fundamentals tier is what helps you get into most of the white collar jobs that we have today, where you're sitting behind a desk, you're doing marketing work, you're doing corporate work, and where a lot of people look for you to communicate your skills, understanding what's at stake, and so much more in the interview process. And so what does this involve? Number one involves creating an inventory. It's the most important part of your job search, and it makes or breaks that interview because a lot of people don't do the work. Interviewing is especially important because when it comes to all of this, a lot of people are looking to just answer interview questions, for example. On the other hand, if you've worked in marketing for a while or you're working in marketing for the first time, there are default questions that are asked at every single interview point. Interviewing, for example, you're going to hear somebody ask you, can you tell me about a company that does marketing really, really well? On the other hand, you're going to hear somebody ask you, tell me about your greatest strength and your greatest weakness, or tell me about a project that you're particularly proud of. And these questions are super important because they gauge your self-awareness. They gauge an inventory of what you've done in the past. And if you're not writing these things down actively as you job search, as you look forward to doing your interview, you're going to find yourself in a place where maybe you don't go to these interviews with the types of questions that you want. And that itself is going to doom you, especially in a really competitive job market. What else are part of the fundamentals? Your social media presence and whether it's cleaned up, your elevator pitch, a resume or cover letter, networking and associations that you're a part of. And so in marketing, right, that's all about being part of things like the American Marketing Association or the International Association of Business Communicators. And all of these organizations are good because they help you get to that next step of being the marketer that you are. Knowing what you want is a huge piece, right? A lot of us, and myself included, looked for a job for the sake of looking for a job when I was a new grad. And, you know, I remember calling up different companies and companies calling me back. And the reason I gave for why I wanted a job was, well, because I just graduated from college and I got to find a way to pay the bills. And while that's a good answer for a certain type of career, it's usually not a good enough answer for a marketing career because you really have to be in tune with purpose and mission and things like that. And so knowing your own purpose, knowing your own mission helps you get closer to that conclusion. And then finally, it's knowing where to find that job. Of course, I'm biased, you know, I would say Albert's List, but if you are on Albert's List and that's the only place where you're going to find that next job, then you're not working hard enough, right? You should also be on LinkedIn, Monster, Career Builder, ZipRecruiter, Indeed, and all these various places as a part of your comprehensive job search strategy. And then even more so from that, we move into resume fundamentals. So like resumes fundamentals, you have your resume and cover letter, and all of the things that surround that when it comes to focusing on your highlights, quantifying your work, highlighting relevant skills, and so much more. And you know, resumes are an interesting thing because they are a marketing document in themselves. How are you using your verbs to best communicate and articulate what your work is? Are you doing what you can to really show off and in the first 6 seconds, show people that you're the candidate that should move into the yes pile versus just another person that gets eliminated via the applicant tracking system? There's also that self-awareness piece, just mentioned that, right? What skills are transferable? Making a list of jobs that you qualify for. And, you know, I'll give you a piece of advice that we usually give in our boot camp. And one of those is writing down a list of jobs that you want to work in. I call this the A through G list. So for example, as a marketer today, you know, my top 5 jobs are content marketing manager, product marketing manager, possibly an event marketing manager, a demand generation manager, and a social media manager, and then a community manager. And then if none of those work, I'm going to number 7, which is recruiting. So why that's important is because it creates that sense of abundance and that level of abundance that you need during your job search so that you understand that no matter where you are, you will not have an abundance problem. And so with that noted and with that in mind, you can move into your job search knowing that there is no issue when it comes to saying, oh yeah, I went on LinkedIn today and I realized that there are no jobs and I'm just not sure what to do about things. That's not going to be an issue because ultimately at the end of the day, you're going to know that, look, if I ran out of marketing jobs of, you know, product marketing variety to apply for, I'm going to move into something else. And then you just go ahead and do that. In addition to that, there are personal brand fundamentals. And so this is the second part of knowing what you want, having a list of jobs to apply for, developing your elevator pitch. How do you show up to a networking event? And so all of those things matter, whether you're going to a virtual or in-person networking event, because people want to know what is it that you stand for and what it is that you want exactly. And so all of those things are going to help you build that identity. Job tactics, networking, referrals, online job sites, career centers, all of those things are also going to help you too, because they play into the factor of how you build that abundance and what places you invest your time in every single day. They say that a job hunt is a full-time job in itself, and it really is, because you are continuously trying to uncover opportunities, look for those opportunities, and really make these things work for you. In the third and fourth week of these 8 weeks, we talk about interviewing and what's at stake. These are all very important parts as well, right? So navigating the interview process is now an entire 5-step process these days. You have everything from the recruiter screen to conversations with prospective colleagues. In marketing these days too, you now have homework, right? So you have companies that will either have you write out an entire marketing plan, share one of the projects that you've done before. And so being able to know who you're talking to along the process is a big, big deal. And I'm sure this is true of many other industries as well. Interviewing is 2 major things as you go through the entire process. And we have an entire presentation for this as well, where number 1, it's about mitigating risk, right? We all don't want to be heard or thought of as a risk when it comes to being a professional. But truthfully, when you get hired, companies want to know whether they're going to have to replace you in 3 months or whether you're somebody who can be a long-term 2 to 3 year hire. And so it's mitigating risk, and it's also painting yourself as the best hire possible. Your past performance is going to be a measuring stick for exactly whatever happens in your future career. And so when it comes to all of that, you want to be able to show that, yes, that project that I did 2, 3 years ago, I can do that exactly for you here too, and maybe expand on it because I've learned something along the way. And then for somebody who may be an entry-level marketer or somebody who's never worked in marketing before, interviewing is about being able to hand over the keys and knowing that you might crash the car or burn down the house, but you're not going to do it too badly because you're only confined to one part of the marketing team, and somebody will be there to save you. And so in terms of mitigating risk, it's all about being able to mitigate risk, but being able to use those transferable skills too to say, hey, in the past I did writing, and I can do that here and blog for you or write data sheets for you, and use that as a stepping stone into a full-on marketing career. And this is where all interview questions stem from. And this is true for really, honestly, any career that you think of. When it comes down to it, when people are asking you about, telling them what your best project was, that's painting yourself as the best hire. Whereas if somebody saw that you spent 6 months at a previous job, they're trying to mitigate risk because they want to make sure that you're going to stay a lot longer here than you were over there. And so we're going to talk about that in the context of applying for full-time jobs, and then also thinking about that from the perspective of part-time roles as well. And so these are the kind of questions you get. You're going to get informational questions, situational questions, and hypothetical questions as well. And so all of these things are things you've no doubt heard before along the way, whether it's walking somebody through their resume, telling somebody about a time when something happened, when you overcame a conflict or failed at a project, or hypothetical questions, which we're thankfully seeing fewer and fewer of as companies realize that prospective employees just don't want to hear it anymore. And so in addition to that, there's also questions that you should ask as a job seeker in the interview too, whether it's understanding the interview process, understanding how you're going to be evaluated, being able to understand company and team culture, and really doing your due diligence along the way to understand how marketing works in the context of the business. And so how do you mitigate risk along the way, right? We're all going to be seen as risks. We're all going to have to overcome the risk question. And no matter how great you are at your job, you're always going to face this risk question because companies don't want to hire someone just to hire someone. They want to hire someone for strategic reasons. And so it's everything from companies wanting to know that you'll align with them, to hiring managers knowing that you'll get along with them, to colleagues knowing that they can count on you, and then also understanding what's at stake along the way. And speaking of stakes, the stakes are always too high here, right? And so a lot of us look for jobs for the sake of looking for jobs, but the real question is here is why is this job being open? And who does this job impact along the way? And that's being able to identify what's at stake as a part of your interview process and brainstorming process. And questions you ask are, why does this job exist in the first place? Who are you affecting in this entire role? And there's generally a map of that, right? From the customers that you're going to influence every day, to the boss that you work with, to the colleagues who will be dependent on you to get the work done, all the way out to the company and the broader industry at large, right? A lot of us are just confined here to the very middle where we're just thinking about you. But there are so many more pieces than just you along the way. And how are you in relationship with all of these 5 other pieces? And why does that relationship matter? Because throughout the entire interview process, you're going to hear questions in your interview that address each of these, 5 to 6 pieces, including yourself, and how they are going to matter for the job that you do. And so unless you're truly in a silo sitting behind a closed door, wondering whether you are just never going to see anybody. Generally speaking, in marketing, you're going to have all these various stakeholders in mind. And how are you going to keep them happy? And how do you communicate how you're going to keep them happy along the way as you experience your job interviewing process? And so how do you determine the stakes, right? You do your research. You go on news sites and you read about the company. You talk to colleagues who are already in the company and you do your LinkedIn. You do a deep dive into the specifics of the job description, something that will help you do as well, because every single job description, while being a wish list, truly reveals what a company wants along the way. You're going to be able to connect with what you want and connect with what you're committed to doing and knowing what's at stake so that everybody along the way and really the customers at the very, very end of all the marketing that you do are going to have the right type of impact that you want to be able to see. Then we move to the 5th and 6th week of navigating change and building leadership. And so what are these things, right? So there's dynamic, vision, metrics, and then being able to build and speak to your credibility. And so the dynamics are your ability to understand flexibility. Understand that by coming into the marketing industry, you're coming into a really, really, really fun field. However, you're coming into a really volatile field as well. And I don't want that to turn you off, because volatility can be fun. A lot of things change a lot of the time in marketing. But if you're doing your job and you're doing your work, you set yourself up for success. Dynamics also look at how you adjust to business changes. I've been through more reorganizations than I can count in my entire years of doing marketing, and it's never fun. But how you adjust to the process as you go through speaks a lot to the character piece that we mentioned at the very beginning. It's also your ability to capture new skills and understand how your job role will change. A lot of what you see on a job description is great, but it's also not going to be the same thing that you end up doing 6 to 8 months, maybe even 1 to 2 years down the road. And so how do you adjust to that, and how do you communicate how you adjust to that? And that's a more advanced tactic, but a very important one as you progress in your marketing career. We also talk about vision, right? So not only are you going into a company to create the type of work that you need to do to help that company be successful, you're going to bring in your own juice to help make that happen. And so how do you align with that vision? How do you build that vision, given your past career experiences, your past schooling experiences, to say, hey, I noticed that this company does ABC, and because of these things that I've learned in these courses or doing these projects, I think we should also do DEF. And so how do you build a vision? How do you build a plan so that you can go and hit the ground running on day one? And so during our bootcamp process, we're going to be sharing some of these marketing plans so that you can use them for yourself during your interview process. Then there's metrics, which is quantifiable business impact. We're not just here to work for the sake of working, but we're also here to figure out how you can make that impact, how you can judge that impact, and how that impact either impacts the bottom line, impacts customers, impacts the industry, or even impacts project delivery dates. For a lot of people, metrics is not something that they necessarily put on their resume, but it's incredibly important to do so because it really showcases what people are able to address during the entire job search process. And Monica, yes, this recording will come through via email. We will follow up with you afterwards. The final piece is leadership, right? And so leadership is the ability to influence. It's context driven, and it's your opportunity to really be there in the company that you're at and share what it is that you're capable of doing. You don't need to be a CMO or a marketing director or even a senior marketing manager to prove that you have leadership skills. You just need to build credibility, show that you're somebody who's dependable, and be somebody who can get the job done and be able to serve people and satisfy them and understand what's at stake for them and connect the two together. And so during our bootcamp process, we talk to you about how you can build that level of leadership so that as you go through your career and as you go through your job search, you can demonstrate a high level of it and truly show that you can be impactful. And then finally, in the 7th and 8th week, we talk about offer letters and being able to negotiate your salary. These are also fun things that we love, right? You've gone through the first 7 weeks, you've done all the job searching, you've done all the job hunting, and then you get that wonderful call from the recruiter who says, hey, I have good news for you. They want to make you an offer, and we want to know what it is that you want, what it is that you want exactly. We mentioned these numbers during the interview process, and we're coming in here, and here are the benefits, and they read them through to you, and it becomes a great experience. Except, you know, a lot of us don't negotiate our offers, and so how do you get more money? How do you use leverage? How do you use strategic leverage to get yourself to that next level? And specifically, how do you also read through the verbiage that a lot of these offer letters have? What do things like at will mean? What does a start date mean? How do you give notice? How do you write a resignation letter when you're doing that? And so those are all things that will be important and matter as we go along the way. And then finally, yeah, salary negotiation, like we just mentioned. So being able to use the right tools. We give you a couple here in this presentation, like pay scale and one to online.org, right? And so, you know, these are tools that you can use to understand, like, are you being lowballed or are you somebody who can get a lot more money? And believe me, companies have the money. We're seeing this right now, actually, during the Great Resignation, right? If Burger King can be out here giving $1,000 bonuses to people to come work at the fast food company, then absolutely they can give you that $5,000 to $10,000 raise that you've been seeking for a while. And so when it comes to salary negotiation, we also look at things like benefits. So, you know, things like healthcare and stock, and how does that all work, especially if you want to go work for a startup and you're wondering if you're going to end up being a millionaire or whether the stock might be worthless, and so much more. So we're about 45 minutes into this now. And if you enjoyed that, we have more for you. We mentioned that we had a boot camp that we wanted to offer all of you as we go through this, right? It's a lot of complex items through the entire hiring process. And there's a lot of accountability needed along the way. If you're like me, you know that marketing can be a very, very alienating process along the way. It's not easy. The job hunt process is not easy. And some of us go months and months without finding our next opportunity. And at Albert's List, we do not believe in that. And so what is this 8 Weeks to Employ program with Albert's List? It's a job coaching and accountability program valued at a total of around $3,000. It's Albert's List led. So we have recruiters, other job seekers, opportunities within our community that we have, with external presenters that include industry experts, recruiters, and career coaches with decades of combined experience. Because we've met a lot of these recruiters and career coaches, we know what it's like along the way to be able to really work through the process. I've met a lot of recruiters along the way. I've met some great recruiters, and I've also met some super lousy recruiters while I'm at it. And finding the good ones are hard because not everyone is vested in you to be able to have the best outcomes possible. And so this is what our 8 weeks to employed with Albert's List opportunity is all about. And so what does this all include? It includes in-depth industry knowledge with marketing leaders. You get access to me, you get access to Andrea, you get access to somebody named Joe Cardillo in our community as well, who himself comes with about 10 to 15 years of marketing experience. And we show you not just the stuff that, a career coach you're gonna find off the internet will tell you, but knowledge from our own working experience that shows you what's really working in marketing is like. We're going to give you marketing yourself and being able to craft your own personal pitch through places like LinkedIn, your own website, and so you can go into a networking situation with the best opportunities possible. We're going to show you how to write your resume the right way that will be seen in 6 seconds or less, and people are going to be able to understand and know what it is that you bring to the table. We're going to give you interview preparation. So not only do you have the opportunity to learn about interviews in week 5 of our 8-week bootcamp, you're also going to have an opportunity to do mock interviews with us on a weekly basis if you want through our Facebook community. We have a recruiter, his name is Corey Hiramoto. He recruits at Google, but he's also a career coach by night. And every Monday night when we can, between 6 and 7 p.m. Pacific, we do a live mock interview in the community where you give us your real resume and you find a real job description to use with us so that we can give you the adequate preparation so you go into your job interview ready to kick butt. Not only do that, we give you a LinkedIn profile review and we teach you how to use LinkedIn. Andrea, she's a career coach, as we've mentioned earlier, has all the LinkedIn templates you need so that not only are you going to reach out to people with the right conversation starters, but they're going to reply to those messages too, because you hit the right notes. We're going to give you networking practice, and we're going to give you salary negotiation so that you're going to stop lowballing yourself in 2022 and finally get the money that you deserve, because you know you deserve more money. I know I deserve more money. I know you deserve more money. And we got to go out there and get that money so that we can live the lives that we want to live. And then in addition to that, you're going to have career coaching time where you have access to me, to Andrea, to Joe in our dedicated LinkedIn messaging group, where you can say anything that you want at any time to get the support that you need. In fact, we started a boot camp back in September where job seekers wanted to figure out how they could find jobs for the fall. And the boot camp ended all the way back in October, but that thread continues to thrive because people know that they can come in, they can get the support that they need, and they're able to feel not as alone during the job search process. And so when does this entire boot camp start? It starts on January 18th. We're starting it on January 18th because we want time for you to think about it, but we also want time to be able to really go through and do the work and make the work matter. And January 18th is when the job market starts anyhow, because a lot of companies start out the first fiscal year thinking about how they want to plan, and then starting around the late January, February time frame, start thinking about what roles that they want to put in there. We are sessions. We have 8 sessions plus a bonus 9th session that start at 6 p.m. Pacific and 9 p.m. Eastern. The sessions will be recorded and made available on YouTube, but you are encouraged to attend live. And when I say make available on YouTube, it's only available for those who have signed up and get a link that's specific to them. And so other perks, you get your Monday night mock interview. You get free tickets to upcoming workshops that we have. So not only that, we also have paid workshops that you get in for free because you've invested with us. You meet virtually over Zoom. So if you're in Canada, New York, Southern California, Oregon, Seattle, you don't have to travel anywhere, which is great. And then you get your exclusive LinkedIn chat to get support. And so your cost today is not $3,000. It's not even $1,000. but you get it at $249, which is almost 90% off the price that we normally offer this at, because we want to really help you get that next job with real great group coaching for the next 8 weeks, starting on January 18th. And so we have early bird tickets that go out today, starting at $249, with the price going up to $299 after that. And so if you're looking for that thing to help you really take you over the edge in 2022, this could be it. And if you're looking for something to maybe gift somebody for the holidays, this definitely could be it too, because it really can show somebody, look, I know that you can do better for yourself. I know that you can offer yourself what it is that you need, and it'll take you to the next level. And so with about 8 minutes left here, I definitely want to connect with some of you. If you have any questions or thoughts, please feel free to add them to the question section below. And Andrea can answer them, or I can answer them along the way as well. And I'm going to actually go ahead and pull up
I chat
the Eventbrite page here.
Yeah.
And we'll go from there.
I think my throat is finally like getting a little bit more hydrated.
Yeah.
Like with this value, this is like typically if you talk to any coach, whether like they identify as career coach or even executive level coaching, what we put in the program, you would pay thousands of dollars for. But we wanted to really create a community, and back to what we were doing, why we were doing this in the first place, is that we want to do our part and really elevate everybody, because we've been there and we don't want anybody else to go through this as well. It's there's a lot of stuff that you would learn through marketing the hard way, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that hard. So yeah, the question. Right, got someone anonymous. You don't have, we have an anonymous attendee, and I did answer a couple of questions in terms of growth marketing. Growth marketing covers everything. Titles, I would say one thing about a title is that there's a lot of different variations that could be in place, like coordinator or assistant would be more entry level, but that would also depend on if you wanted to go, like if you wanted to be agency or in-house, or even if you wanted to specialize in a specific channel. So if you wanted to do paid, if you wanted to do content, if you wanted to even go down the influence route, there's a lot of agencies and roles where you get to do research and coordinate with influencers all across all of the channels, etc. A lot of things. Another, so I don't know if it's the same anonymous attendee or somebody else. I don't have much skills, but looking for marketing entry role titles. Where do I start? There's a lot of ways you can start. And I would say that I would personally, it does depend on, where entry level, like if you're in school, for instance, you can definitely like make sure that your resume is beefed up with any projects, any courses, any extracurricular or student life activities that you've done. If you were just starting out in school, and that's the beautiful thing with this marketing in particular, is that there's a lot of things that you can put in place so long as you're able to really demonstrate not just the growth that's there, but also quantifying the results that you've brought to the table. And I tell this to all of my clients, regardless of their industry, but I cannot stress it enough with anybody that's in marketing or wants to get in marketing. The most important thing you can emphasize on your resume, on your LinkedIn, like wherever you're presenting yourself, whether it's in person, online, in paper, you must emphasize the metrics. How much have you been able to accomplish, and what were the results? Were you able to manage a social media profile? Did you double their followers? That's where like a little bit of embellishment would come into play. You're not necessarily lying, but you are selling yourself. Were you able to take an Instagram account from 100 followers to 1,000 followers in less than a month? Were you able to go viral on TikTok a few times? There's a lot of things that are there. So anybody that's entry level, I do encourage you guys, there's only so much we can answer. There's a lot of ways that you could go about doing it, but I do encourage you guys to start looking at ways that you can just make impact, even if you don't have any experience. Look around and see if there is anybody in your network. If you have a friend that has a business, see if you can help them, because that is absolutely something that you could put on your resume, for example. Okay, and another anonymous attendee, or same anonymous attendee, asked if I have any connections to entertainment/media companies. Entertainment, no. Media, I might. So I'd have to look around, for instance. And I personally am not going to be I don't make introductions unless I get to know the person and I can work with them in some capacity. So because then I would need to, like, if you're asking, and this is also just like general housekeeping, if you're going to ask for a introduction or referral, a couple of things would need to happen. One, a lot of people, I feel as if so many people are just like, oh, you have to network, you have to get referrals, blah, blah, blah. It's not like, it's almost positioned as if it's like the be all end all, and that's not necessarily the case, because there needs to be a fit as well. So even if you do get the introduction, like you have a really good friend, for instance, and I'll use myself as an example. I have a really good friend that works at Columbia Business School. She's an HR business partner. There were quite a few jobs that have popped up over the years that she threw my way, and they just didn't work out. Either the salary wasn't there, it just wasn't a good fit, for instance, but she would have been able to make that introduction. So one piece of advice, and throughout the boot camp and through any additional sessions that we do together, we absolutely will go into additional detail about how you can go about making those introductions, because you need to be able to craft the narrative, and you also need to do your research, so that it's not just saying like, hey friend, can you introduce me to so and so. It's more like, hey friend, would love to learn more about this role or talk about this person. I have XYZ experience and I think I'd be a good fit for it. So it's about taking that extra step. What is easier to start a career in, marketing or project/program management? I don't know about you, Albert. I'm going to be biased and say that marketing is easier.
I mean, everything is a project, I think.
Sure.
Yeah. So I think that, well, I mean, I don't know. I think it depends on the marketing, and I think it depends on the project.
Yeah, and because project management, I think, can be very broad, and it is, I feel as though a lot of project management roles or program management roles, they're going to be very dependent on the industry and the level. As you can have, there's going to be like different grades, for lack of a better term. I've actually worked with a couple of program managers earlier this year. One guy in particular, even though he has project management experience, he was stuck with a project coordinator role for some time until he finally kept pushing to get the official title change. So it totally depends. It's not a fit for everybody. Okay. Monica
Like, we're getting a lot of
asked,
questions.
we are getting a lot of questions, but we're coming up on time. You have questions, and we might need to go into the bootcamp. But all right,
we can go 10 minutes over, because I do have another webinar starting at 6 o'clock Pacific. So
Monica,
it's a busy day for Albert's list.
If we have a strategy on roles that are hidden in the market or not yet created. That's a good question. So that's not common. And I think it's just like a really big talking point that's pushed by people that basically want to scam you. And the reason why is that it's not like, the only reason why like roles are not hidden is because they're quietly trying to replace somebody that is on their way out. So the reason like things wouldn't be publicized, for example, if they're going to be replacing a less than stellar employee and they're trying to do it stealthily. So they're not going to outright publish that this person's job is out there until they terminate their position. So one thing that I would recommend is just like, making sure that you're keeping your network intact, staying in touch with people, just seeing where things are at. If you have good relationships with your previous bosses, your colleagues, just catch up to a virtual or in-person drink, any coffee or alcoholic beverage, whatever um, whatever is going to help your throat. But
Help your throat.
whatever is going to help. I'm sorry, biased again. But yeah, it's not. I'm really hard pressed, especially like just being on the side from a hiring perspective, both as a hiring manager, as a recruiter. It doesn't serve us any good to just keep these jobs a secret when we have just like the truth with recruiting is that we need to keep those pipelines full. So that's why, like, more often than not, you're going to see people, like a lot of people applying, recruiters taking forever because they have so many people that they're talking to, and ghosting can happen, and it's no excuse for them to just like get back to you and just say, yes, we want to move forward, or no, we're going to move forward with somebody else. There's a lot of stuff that they have going on, and a lot of companies are just trying to do the most with the least amount of resources they possibly can. So yeah, hope that answered your question. Oh, there's even more coming in. This is interesting. If a new team is forming and the roles are not laid out yet. So yeah, it would usually be coming from, like, if it's going to be somebody in leadership, then there's going to be a whole process. Like, say for instance, I become a CMO, which I personally have no ambition to do, but we'll see what happens in the next 10, 20 years. I know I'm going to need a team. They're still going to need to be processed. I can't just be like, yeah, I need a team, and then they'll just give it to me. Like, I need to create the job specs. I need to get approvals from my leadership team. I need to work with HR. I need to work with finance department to make sure that the salaries are compensated. There's a whole thing going on. So that's why I recommend you stay in touch with your network and to just see where things are going, because it could take weeks, if not months, for those roles to be officially created and in order for the hiring process to actually start. Last thing you want to do is to just have conversations that end up going nowhere, and then, you interview for a role that doesn't exist yet. Okay, hopefully that helped. And then anonymous attendee, waitress, most likely. I had to say, like, these specific questions, like, this is something that I would talk about at a coaching session. There's a lot going on. It's like rapid fire, so I'll do my best here. But as I mentioned, like, if you wanted to get, I would say, like, if you were a waitress, there's a lot of customer facing experience that you had. And that is one particular part of marketing, is that you have to be good with people. So being able to get partnerships in place, if you're going to be on social media, responding to different comments and DMs, escalating if you need to. So there is going to be communication involved, and you can have that transferable experience on there in some way. In terms of certifications, Albert, we were talking about this in our boot camp and in our LinkedIn group chat.
Yeah, and you will get a chance to, get certified and do all those things too. So yeah.
I would say, like, the couple of recommendations that we recommend for certifications, A, they're free, and B, these are tools that are going to be used throughout your career, especially if you're going to be on the digital side. Meta, aka Facebook, they have a section called Blueprint with a lot of materials about how to use Facebook, Instagram, and whatnot, including their business manager suite. So how do you run Facebook ads through it? It is extremely complicated. If you have any interest in learning Facebook ads, I highly recommend going through their materials first. I will warn you, it is a lot of stuff to digest, but it's definitely worth it if you want to go down that route. Google also has a lot of free resources on how to use their tools. Google Analytics and Google Ads would be really big things that you can look into. And I cannot stress enough that you should go directly to them. You don't need to go to Udemy. You don't need to pay for any of these, because then you could just have on your resume that you have these certifications and the knowledge in these tools. Now, they could be talking points. You do need to be prepared to speak about how you would use these tools for an actual campaign. And there's for actual certifications that you would get, like, a diploma for and a number and everything, you can go through HubSpot's Academy. they have several courses. The longest course is like, I want to say 4 hours. So you can knock that out on a weekend. And the certifications, they're good for about 14 months. And the reason why is that there's a lot of things that are changing in marketing. I'm a firm believer that once you know the basics about a campaign, what people are looking for, how to work with others, how to work with leadership, how to put together plans, what numbers to look for and everything like that, then you can use whatever tool that's out there.
Yep.
Oh my goodness, all the questions. Okay, so I feel like my mark is done. I just
We do cover content marketing or communications courses. Just FYI, I work in content marketing. So if you want to learn how to think like a content marketer, that is absolutely the opportunity here. Best marketing hard skills to develop and soft skills to succeed. I would say the soft skills are collaboration. They are a sense of project management, and really a supportive teamwork type attitude. Hard skills, honestly, will depend on the job. So yeah.
I think metrics is going to be key, regardless of whatever discipline of marketing you're going to be in. Understanding what these numbers mean. When it comes to ads, when it comes to organic, just how can you tell if any of these things are working?
Yep.
And then the channels are going to be dependent on how you get there.
Yep.
Because if you look at any company, just like really look at anything, any successful brand that's out there, they've used multiple channels to get to where they need to be. So it's not just going to be a one size fits all, but sometimes they start off with something that's a little scrappy. The best marketing department that isn't technical. I'm not sure I understand that question.
I guess where you don't
Not
have
a
to
tech
learn,
company?
like you don't have to learn like tools and things of that sort. I would say be a content marketer or be like a social media Oh, no math, no coding.
No, you don't have
most
to.
of marketing is not math or any coding really, unless you wanted to be like a marketing analyst and do that kind of work. Yeah.
I mean, there might be some roles where you would need to dabble in like site management, CMS. CMS stands for content management systems. So if part of your job means going in the back end of a website, going into WordPress and whatnot, then there would be some coding involved. You would need to know HTML, CSS, JavaScript, nothing super advanced. It's not like you need to be a developer. Product marketing is not technical.
Yeah, it's not technical usually. So yeah.
It means that you specialize in the product, and it's more about, it's funny, like I think that we answered this before in boot camp, just like how you could better. Oh no, I did with Joe, I'm sorry. But product marketing basically means working closely with the product team. So getting feedback from customers, just seeing like the ins and out on what the service or product actually is and how you would work closely with marketing so that they can communicate that it is the best product that's out there without lying.
Yep. So cool. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing the screen now. I went ahead and dropped the link to this boot camp in the chat one more time. I want to thank everybody for joining us here for the last hour and a half, or hour actually. And so, yeah, let us know if you have any questions. We will follow up with you with the live video and more. And so if you want to think about what you want to do moving forward, we are here for that conversation. And so Carla, yes, I will be sending all of these items through, and I'll be sending the video through, and you'll be able to review that at your leisure. So yeah, with that said, thank you all again for joining, and we'll see you in the new year, and we'll be in touch. Any other final thoughts, Andrea?
No, I mean, hope to see some of you guys in our boot camp. yeah, it's going to be, the next cohort is going to start in the next month, right after MLK Day. And thank you guys for being a part of the presentation. Hopefully we were able to answer some of your questions. We will send out an actual email with the link to this YouTube video in addition to the deck. But yeah, that's about it.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.